Come on up. You're live, man. It's live. You're live. Get up there in the corner.
Just catching it?
Hell yeah. We're waiting for the picture, okay?
Okay.
Just act natural, bud. Act natural. Yeah, act natural. Act natural.
Right there, we got a catcher up here.
We want a catcher, not a belly itcher.
GT for the sky! Hey! Hey! Now take a bite.
Throw it back and say back jack.
Back Jack!
Back Jack! Hey!
Good job, buddy. There's a sink right there
Alright, thank you.
and a soap dispenser right there.
Okay.
By the way, I'm still taping, dude. Paper towels up there.
Kristen, watch out, Dory's coming.
Hell yeah. All right, say peace out.
Peace out.
Yeah.
What's that?
Welcome to Seattle Center Monorail. Please take your seats or hold on to the handrail. Thank you for your cooperation and enjoy the ride. Now arriving at Seattle Center Station. This is our one and only stop. Please make sure.
We are flying 10 miles an hour. We will expand 41 seconds to the top. The Space Needle was built in 1962 by the World's Fair. Today we have a beautiful view around to the city. In front to us we have a Puget Sound, salt water, who is part of the Pacific Ocean. At the left side we have Elliott Bay, the seaport of Seattle.
Hey, I think that's our ship.
I know. Don't click random QR codes.
You're doing a little away weekend.
Yeah, right. Oh, my ears are ringing now. Not pop, they're just ringing. Just the thought of me dropping this makes me think. That's what I was trying to tell you earlier, the seaplane, and you weren't listening to me.
I was trying to talk to Allison.
I know. Whatever. That's Lake Union.
That is?
Yeah. And
Is that the home of the first union?
no.
I don't know.
Paul, where was the Yacht World office? Was it the one with the black roof?
Yeah, that black building on there on the
That's right.
on the top left.
Yeah.
The lone building. That's
Yeah.
the original Yacht World office, and then we live across the street that building, the glass building across the street from it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. South
And then-
Union.
And the Allison Gasworks Park is over on the far side.
Yep, that's where the
with
fire-
all those red things sticking up. And then the Fremont Troll is way over there. You can't see it. It's hidden.
There's Juneau, up there in that corner.
All the buildings are.
Yeah. And then that city across there, that's Bellevue.
Yeah. That's where
Yeah, it's essentially. Well, actually, no, it's Bellevue.
Oh, yeah. And then Queen Anne down there. Huh? That's Queen Anne down there.
Yep, Queen Anne, all this whole area on the left side. That's the old school football field for where all the schools in Seattle, high schools play.
There's so much of a glare
I don't know.
from the rain. hour?
I didn't know if it was like you.
We went there 10 years ago when we were here. And we're back.
This is commissioned by Barnes, New York in 2015 for its holiday window display and last map.
Is there a bright light coming from the front of this?
You know you're looking at me, right?
Yes. Is there a bright light coming to this? I can edit you out.
No.
Don't
No,
worry.
you're fine. It's just a flashing red.
Okay.
No, guys, welcome to my blog. This is where we're seeing this. This is my dad.
Cathartic.
Yeah.
That's the cathartic road traveler.
Our next exhibit we're gonna learn is, wow, look at that. This is so cool, guys. Go ahead and like look at this right here. What? That's so crazy. This is such a good quality one. This camera's pretty
See the one that
good.
I'm asking for Christmas.
Oh,
Asking for this one does not do well with
are you?
stability.
Okay, there we go.
Hi, how's it going? I'm Matt. You may have seen me earlier. I'm the guy that caught the fish and threw it back.
Wow,
So,
that's so crazy.
mhm.
Yeah. Who are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm so glad we stopped that guy from using a tripod in here because we told him.
Yeah.
We had warned him 5 times.
Yeah, this guy.
Hi, how you doing?
Wow.
I just drive. Drive people crazy. Do you want a picture?
No, thank you. Wow.
Can you take my picture?
Yeah, I can take it for you, buddy. You want it right there? Don't touch it. Do you hear me? Next one, I think you should do without the book bag.
You gotta do the thinking admiration thing.
No, you're not. Go ahead and point. I hate that. I hated that last one.
I did too.
Okay. Well, here you are, Dad. You can.
Can I get a picture first?
Oh, wow. I didn't know you could hold it like this, too. Well, look at this one.
Oh, wow.
This is a pretty neat one. Oh, and this is like an oh, this is like oh, those are octopuses too. Thanks, Maddie. Do you think these are eels? They are. I like to eat those. Maddie.
Blowfish?
Where did Dad go? I don't want to hold this anymore.
video games. I just said the same thing, guys. Did you? Yeah, but I looked way cooler though. So turned around.
Welcome to Southeastern Alaska. Please take a seat or hold on to the handle. Thank you for your cooperation and enjoy.
Sorry, we have to go back through this. Yeah, just got finished putting it away, and I realized that we've already been sailing for probably about 10 minutes, or maybe even longer. I didn't realize it.
Glacier and Salmon Bay can eventually just join us.
What's up?
Dad, what's it like?
It's life changing.
Oh my goodness.
0511 and 0512 Mendenhall Glacier and Salmon Bay. If
Are
you're
you-
unsure, ladies and gentlemen, please approach, or my colleague as well is on the top. Okay? 0511 and 0512 Mendenhall Glacier and Salmon Bay.
Let's do my
Wow.
Jazzy.
Is that what you do?
Yep. I'm gonna go right over here to get out of the way.
Crazy day. So welcome to Juneau, everybody. We're on our way to the Mendenhall Valley to catch your whale watch. Hope everybody's on the right bus. I wouldn't be shocked if there was someone not on the bus. But anyway, we're heading out. We'll be out there in about 15 minutes. We'll be out there in about 15 minutes for the whale watch, and then they'll transport you over for your salmon bake after that. So hope that sounds good. If anybody wants to eat first, I can stop at McDonald's. We we won't be too late. So this is downtown Juneau. There's a city hall right here to your right. There's a beautiful Native Alaskan mural right there. Also, you see the totem poles here. You'll see a lot of those in the Southeast Alaska, of course. And this is Main Street, so we're going to go by Main Street. If you look to your right, you'll see the state capitol. It's kind of a red brick building there. Fairly nondescript, but this is the state capital. Juneau, Alaska, 30,000 population. Is this everybody's first time to Juneau?
Yep.
All right, so I can say anything, really. No, I'm kidding. It's my first day too. No, I'm also kidding. So I live in Juneau, and more precisely, I live across the water over there on Douglas Island. So we'll be getting some really good views of Douglas Island here in a second. So that's part of Juneau. And it's a lovely place to live. I've been here for 8 years. And yeah, love it. It's, of course, it's beautiful and there's tons to do. Obviously a lot of great hikes and recreational activities. And you can see my condo building. Look, about 9 o'clock there to your left, those yellow and blue kind of row house looking condos there. That's mine. I'm in the blue one. So it's pretty hard to find housing in Juneau. A few reasons for that. One is there's not a lot of land to build on. Because you probably noticed Juneau is kind of right up against the mountains, and then you have the water on the other side. So we're pretty pressed in on all sides, so pretty hard to find new space available. So that definitely raises the demand. It's pretty high. And there you get some good looks at Douglas Island there to the left there. And this is the Gastineau Channel in between us. Of course, this is part of the ocean, so it looks like it's at high tide right now. Low to high tide differential is about 16 to 20 feet. So yeah, right now we're at high tide. Of course, that's where all the salmon come. We're kind of at the tail end of the salmon season, so they are still coming in slightly. So I think we have some silvers, maybe some pink salmon coming through. Now, of course, we do get a lot of the wet stuff, as you can see. Rains quite a bit here. We are in a rainforest. Juneau also gets a lot of snow. So we'll get about around 50 to 60 inches of snow. We typically have pretty late winters. So it's kind of weird here in Southeast, like the seasonal kind of template's a little different from down south. Fall starts pretty early here, so like first week of August you'll start seeing some leaves change and everything. It starts cooling down at night. And winter, it starts to get cold, but we really don't get snow until late December, January. Usually we don't really have great accumulation until then. I mean, we'll get a scattering of some flurries, but the really heavy stuff will come, you know, beginning of January and so forth. So I'm going to pass this guy. Good question. What brought me to Alaska? So, about, geez, it's almost 20 years ago, I came up here to drive seasonally. I was in college, and yeah, I had a friend that came up, and so they told me about it, and came up here to drive for a couple years, and then kind of bounced around a little bit, came back. And yeah, so this job brought me up here. Of course, I'm not a driver anymore. I'm a manager now. So I have a year-round work with the company. So I get to stay here. So I'm very fortunate. And you hear that story a lot if you talk to locals. They'll come up here for a lot of times. It is for a job of some sort, whether it's in the oil, oil and gas, or they'll get a good state job. There's a lot of good state jobs in Juneau, or tourism is a big one though. And we're glad you came up. October is definitely when the season is winding down, which, that's a great time to be here because it's far less crowded. As you noticed, you're the only cruise ship in town, so that's pretty cool. And we actually had a string of 5 days without cruise ships, so you're the first since I think last Thursday or Wednesday, I can't remember. So October is great because now you get to kind of walk around and it's almost like you're a local, right? You get to kind of feel what the town's like without all the cruise traffic. So if you would have been here a month ago, there's probably about 15,000 people that have been here, along with 30,000 population. So yeah, it gets pretty crazy when there's 4 or 5 cruise ships in town at the same time. So yeah, I definitely yeah, that's like another really good question. You're a great class. Yes, we have a lot of black bears. So we don't have the grizzly bears, you know, like the kind of the iconic Alaska, you know, animal. The grizzly's like a little bit further north, right? They like a lot more range. They kind of move around, a lot of flat land. And so we do have a lot of black bears, definitely. And right now you can still see some out, you know, they'll get people trashed and stuff like that. Not super scary, you know, as long as you know, don't provoke them or anything, but Juneau, you rarely hear about any kind of bear encounters. Those are most of the grizzly bears. And that kind of goes with all of the larger land mammals of Alaska, like moose, caribou, reindeer, all those larger mammals. You won't find those in Juneau, right? They're all up north, a little bit further up north. This is a good stretch that we're on right now to see eagles. So if you kind of keep your eyes open for some, look for their white heads. You know, the bald eagles have the distinctive white cap, so just look on the lamp posts here. Sometimes you'll see them alongside the water side or up in treetops, so I'll keep an eye open too, see if I can see one. And now we're getting to the area they call the Mendenhall wetlands. So you can kind of see the tall grasses, kind of the marshier areas here. We have an area of the ecology here called the muskeg, M-U-S-K-E-G, and it's sort of like a swamp or a bog. It's where they just get so, you know, wet and kind of acidic topsoil. So you're kind of seeing some of that right now. To the left, you can see about 10 o'clock, you can see our airport there. You can see some blinking lights off in the distance. That's our international airport. So obviously lots of flights in and out from Alaska Airlines, but also the smaller planes, like the little Cessna planes, 8-10 seater planes. Obviously, we're going out to the whale watch right now, and you'll be on the water for an hour or so, and then they'll pick you up. You'll have a different bus picking you up, right? So I'm just going to take you one way out, so make sure you have everything off the bus. They'll pick you up at the whale watch and take you right up to the salmon bank, which the salmon bank is really awesome. Go out there, kind of relax, you don't have to rush through it. They have a shuttle system that'll take you back whenever you want. So kind of at your leisure when you can leave the salmon bank. And then the beauty of it, your ship is in the middle of town, so you don't have to do, you know, you don't have to walk very much. You'll be right there because you'll be all full, right? The salmon bank was a little bit further back, kind of where that first stoplight was. So it's a little bit outside of town. Yeah. So the bus ride from the salmon bank back to town is literally about 5 to 7 minutes. Pretty quick. Yep. And it's a beautiful scene there to your left there. That's North Douglas. So that's the very tip of the island I was pointing out earlier. So it's beautiful. The shafts of light. That'd be a beautiful painting. So over there on the North Douglas, that's where we have our Eagle Crest, because there's only about 30 yards or so of flat land until you hit the mountains. So yeah, so we're zero here, obviously, we're sea level, but yeah, it does jut up very quickly. So the hikes here, they're thigh busters for sure. You're going to get some really big legs if you move to Juneau. So yeah, look to your right, guys. You'll start seeing the glaciers here. Yes, same road. We'll take the same road. Yep. Yeah, it's looking nice. Not a silly question. You guys are hitting all the top 10 questions. So gas prices. So actually here they're around $3.75 right now, which is actually pretty reasonable for Alaska. Yeah. Of course, Alaska produces a lot of that, right? We produce a lot of that oil and gas, but we don't refine it. That all gets sent back south. So that's why we usually spend a little bit higher than down south for sure for gas. But the beauty of Juneau, this road we're on is about 50 miles north and south and dead ends. So you're not really going, anywhere. So you don't have to fill up that much. You're not driving that much. I have about a 10-minute commute in the morning. They migrate, of course. I'm kidding. Yeah. Yeah, this area out here is gorgeous. I love coming out here. They call this Auke Bay. A-U-K-E, Auke Bay. That's from a native Alaskan word meaning people of the lake. So this area was actually their fishing village, seasonal fishing village when they traveled through. So up to your left, you're going to get some really good views of the Auke Bay area. This is where you'll be doing your whale watch. Lucky folks, lucky folks.
I just called the captain. He's going to call the owner of our company. And he kind of...
That clear water.
Three people in a full boat sit down and don't get up to their boat.
grabbing right here is a chunky meaty mussel. It's called a peduncle, and it's not only the strongest muscle on the entire humpback whale, but it's actually one of the strongest muscles in the entire animal kingdom. They use their peduncle to propel themselves through the water and to raise what's called their fluke above the surface and dive as well. That fluke are these triangles that you guys are seeing. This, yet again, is the dorsal side, but if I turn my wheel to the other side here, can everyone see this white coloration, this white pattern? This is a fluke pattern on this humpback whale, and this is really special to each individual that is out here on the water. So as humans, we have individualized fingerprints. There's no two same fingerprints in the entire world, and the same concept is with the flukes of our humpback whales. They're all slightly different sizes, usually about 15 to 18 feet in length, with females being a little bit larger in size. They have different ridges and bumps, but the biggest thing is going to be coloration. Some of these whales have an all black fluke with no white fluke whatsoever. Some have white patches in varying spots, and then other whales will have almost a completely white fluke, like that good example on that whale right there. And it's basically how we do the majority of our humpback whale research out here on the water. We try to do as much non-invasive research on these whales. So while there are different types of research such as blubber and skin sampling, as well as temporary tagging called suction cupping, these are not our most common ways. We do something called fluke identification. Not only researchers, scientists, companies, conservationists, but it's something that everybody in the world can actually participate in and does participate in. There's a lot of different websites out there. One of my two favorites, I would say, is Juneau Flukes, because we're here in Juneau, so it has all of our local celebrities out here. But happywhale.com is going to be the largest database of all of our humpback whales that we know currently in the world. So basically what you do is, whether it's me, you guys, a scientist, really anybody, we get a really good photo of that underside of the fluke. Here, it's really important that it's underside, not this side here, the dorsal side. We get a really good photo, whether it's today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, on a whale watch. You can go to happywhale.com, you can upload it, you'll type in some basic information, like say where you're at, who you were with, what time of day, a couple other questions that they'll ask you, and then you submit it. And there at happywhale.com, they have this algorithm that searches the entire database and will match the fluke with the humpback whale that it belongs to. If they're able to find a match, they will personally email you, and they'll tell you what whale you're looking at. From there, you can click on the whale, download a little autobiography of that whale, it'll tell you its name, its age, its habitat calves, all kinds of things. Then you can click further on a map, and it'll show all the routes that this whale has taken, all of the sightings of this whale. So you can kind of track where this whale has spent its life, and you're able to do that with all of these guys out here on the water. So I highly encourage you guys, if you do get to see a fluke today, definitely take pictures. If I know who it is, I will also let you know. So like I said, I've been here for about 6 months now, so I've been spending quite some time with these guys. And while we do have populations that come and go, we had a handful come in August and spent a couple weeks with us before they further went down to Sitka, and we've had some different rotations of whales. We've had about 10 that have spent all summer season with us. me one moment. I'll open that back door for you guys.
migrate. Let's go. Extension arm.
We'll get there.
Here, I'm gonna go inside here.
18 miles of our narrow gauge railroad and climbing over 2,500 feet in elevation. Our trip will take about 2.5 hours and your passports are not required for this excursion. We take the same set of tracks up and down the mountain, so when we arrive at milepost 18, we will perform a mandatory seat exchange for our return to Skagway, so that everyone will get to see both sides of the train ride today. You'll have one side going up and the opposite going down. During our trip, I'll be pointing out some of the scenery and sharing with you some of the history of the White Pass Railroad and the Klondike Gold Rush which spurred its construction. Now, my name is Drake. I'll be your narrator and tour guide today, and before we get into anything else, let's go ahead and go over some safety announcements. Now, folks, this is a very real narrow gauge railroad, so I'll need everyone's attention for a few minutes for important safety information. During boarding, you may have noticed exterior platforms located at the front and back of your coach cars. These platforms are not available for use within city limits. Once the conductor has given me the go-ahead, I'll make an announcement and let everyone know when it's okay to step inside. Or step outside, excuse me. Alright, folks, so we're going to go over these more in depth once we pick up some of our extra passengers that we're grabbing. We're going to pick up 2 cars worth from our depot in town, so I'll be going over those safety announcements once again once they get on. Our trip will take about 2.5 hours and your passports are not required for this excursion. We take the same set of tracks up and down the mountain, so when we arrive at milepost 18, we'll perform a mandatory seat exchange for our return trip to Skagway. So everyone will get to see both sides of the train ride today. You'll have one side going up and the opposite going down. During our trip, I'll be pointing out some of the scenery and sharing with you some of the history of the White Pass Railroad and the Klondike Gold Rush, which spurred its construction. My name is Drake, and I'll be your tour guide and narrator today. Joining me are two more awesome roaming tour guides, Ariana and Maya. You'll be meeting one of them soon if you haven't already. They're going to come through your cars to greet you and point out a few of our onboard amenities. They are very knowledgeable, so please feel free to ask them questions. Now, our engineer today is Engineer Reader, but we won't be seeing him too much because he's in the cab of our locomotive driving the train. We will, however, be seeing Conductor Saul, who is in charge of our train, and assisting him is Brakeman Breen. Now, on your seats, you should have already found a complimentary copy of our All Aboard magazine. If not, or if you'd like any extras, additional copies are located either the front or rear of your coach car. These guides are full of useful information about White Pass and the Skagway area. The back cover folds out into a rail map, which you can use to follow along as we embark from milepost 0, Skagway, Alaska, to the White Pass summit at milepost 20.
The windows keep fogging up.
Some of these windows. Excuse me, folks. Give this a crack. Hopefully that will mitigate some of the fog that we experience on here. What's up? Yeah. Of course. Lakes and rivers throughout Alaska, British Columbia, and the Yukon. In the summer of 1897, ships converged on the shores of Skagway, nestled in a fjord and serving as the gateway to the distant Klondike goldfields, luring thousands seeking their fortunes. The Klondike Gold Rush had begun, ignited by the discovery of gold in the Yukon the year prior. Skagway swiftly transformed into a bustling hub as prospectors from far and wide poured in, eager to stake their claim in one of the last remaining frontiers. The story of the White Pass Railroad is intertwined with Skagway and the Klondike Gold Rush, a story of the spirit of adventure and pursuit of wealth amidst the rugged north. Now, speaking of Klondike Gold Rush, coming up on the right is our Gold Rush Cemetery. It was used from 1897 to 1908 until no space was left and it was designated a historic site. Now that's going to be coming up on the right behind a chain link fence. Now folks, I'm smack dab in the middle, give or take, of this train, and it's 15 cars long. So if you're closer to the front where the engine is, you're going to see these sites quicker than the folks in the very back. So the further back in the train, the more of a delay you'll have with my announcements and what you see. So keep that in mind. But coming up on the right behind that chain link fence is that Gold Rush Cemetery I was telling you about. Now, as we leave Skagway behind, the Skagway River is going to be on our left-hand side, which we'll see often on our trip today.
still here.
Yeah, I said if there's this many, they're probably not.
I thought that cars were a frame up. I never would try. Now I get a hot dog. You're taking that game up, and the ace of hearts is hot. Things are bending. I see a rainbow blending. We'll have a happy ending now.
Guys,
come take a picture.
Let's take a photo here. Over here, bud.
All right.
Oh, there he is. Yeah.
Let me look at the big binoculars.
Then we felt sea otter, which was my personal favorite. It's so busy. I saw them little fins.
I've seen a lot of chunks of ice, blue ice.
Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah.
That's what we do right here. At least you know it's
enhance this video with 3 dragons flying in. He's saying I should enhance this video with 3 flying dragons.
Do you want to see? Okay, see, you see where that V is? Like, so there's something swimming? That's a sea otter.
Which general direction are you
Right here.
You see the lake being made? It's better without binoculars.
I can't see anything without binoculars.
Okay, see the wake in the water?
Yeah.
Okay, look in that direction.
Okay. I feel like something was blocking this.
They might be too far apart, close together.
Okay.
Now you do you see it?
What color is it? Yeah, no, I see it without the binoculars too. This should pick it up.
We're supposed to see some
On the
seals.
4K TV, you'll be able to see it. What was it that the narrator said about the dirty eyes?
These formations are incredible.
But this glacier is totally quite special. Like they said, it's the only Inuit glacier that is not measured in feet. And we don't know how long that will last. So again, this sound like a broken record on the same song, but take advantage of the changing because next time, these glaciers are built and built during the
Yeah, it's all beautiful.
It's not Ketchikan. It's like a fully built rice on it.
Oh, there's another otter.
to put a little bit of fear in Allison.
That's on you. That's on you, Dad. You're gonna be the one that's devastated.
Yeah, you're right. I would be. What's that way out there? That little black thing sticking up.
Picture. Oh, just saw the orca.
If you came at the start of the spring, as we hike along, it would have smelled like someone was engaged in recreational activities along their morning hike. And although those recreational activities are legal here, that wouldn't be what you'd smell. You'd be smelling this plant. Anybody know what it's very appropriately called?
The pot plant.
Skunk cabbage. So not that far off. Skunk cabbage. Skunk cabbage is one of the first plants that grow back in the springtime.
Skunkweed.
It's also one of the first plants bears eat after hibernation.
Wow.
And they eat the roots or the leaves kind of the second they come out of the ground. So, if you see what look like moon-shaped nibbles out of the tops and only the tops of the plants, that's exactly what you're seeing. Proof that the bears ate this plant when they wandered through after hibernating earlier in the year. But bears, they eat this plant for one reason and one reason only. It helps them poop. All winter long, they've consumed things that back them up, and in the spring, they clearly want to get the pipes going again. Wow. Skunk cabbage would be the natural laxative for the bears, helping them accomplish that goal. And once it serves its purpose, they don't want it anymore. They move on to their more normal diet of things like small sap trees and berries and fish, because their goal becomes get as fat as they can to survive winter, so they can live to do it all over. A few basic things about bear safety. Is this your first stop or your last stop? Last stop in Alaska. Okay. We are way too far south to have polar bears. This island isn't recognized to have brown or grizzly bears, but I used to work for the town career taxidermist. There are a few at the back half of the island, just not at all accessible to us. The only thing we would encounter today are black bears, and frankly, if we see them on this trail, they are born and raised around hiking groups just like ours. People aren't hunting them on this trail. The only predator on the island is the gray wolf, which frankly avoids populated areas and people, which is odd to suggest that our bears aren't particularly aggressive. This It's not aggressive, mean, friendly. No! No! We're not gonna do any of the dumb stuff we see on the news.
Oh, yeah.
Like try to pet that dog or take selfies with baby bear cubs or anything ridiculous. It's still wildlife. But it is to suggest that if we see a bear and leave it alone, it'll leave us alone. And if we see a bear today, all I want you to do is stay still. Running risks startling the bear at a time when they do have young and food's getting more scarce. You could take an otherwise docile bear and make it more defensive. I want you to know I'll do everything I can to show us the bear today. If I'm loitering at spots, it should be your key to look around. You will see the bears far more often than you'll hear them, and the extra sets of eyes help see any bears that may be out. But this isn't a zoo. Nothing is caged or fenced in. And it's not a magic show. I'm not tipping out a coworker at the end of the hike so they can release him from the cage. I'm gonna put us in all those spots. We'll see what we can find. In other parts of the state or country, please though, don't take my casualness with bears with you. I always would have bear spray on my hip. I frankly would have a lot better protection, and I wouldn't offer you granola bars. But today I'm hoping to see a bear. Along the journey, it is going to look like someone's blown up the rocks to make the trail. Well, that's very sweet. That's not the case though. The trail was made around these natural formations. I will talk to you soon about signs of glacier activity, but that's what this is. The residual effects of glaciers carving through in the past. Now the back half of our island, and why it's so hard for predators like brown bear or grizzly bear or moose or wild cats to swim across from the mainland that's really not that far away. That back half is the misty fjords. Those are very steep mountain faces jutting down to the water, making it hard for the animals to even get to the water, to consider swimming across it. Partner that with the fact you could be the most badass predator on the land, but you're nothing swimming across the channel with killer whales. You can see why our island's pretty insulated with species. Those are the very extreme examples of what the glaciers did carving through, besides more of the tapered off effects. how many different types of trees you see. Just notice how dense the forest is. And when you look back my way, make those same observations. And draw that contrast because the forest on both sides of the trail is the same and the same age. People did nothing to cause this difference. The difference is because this area is a muskeg. And in the muskeg, glaciers carved out part of the bedrock such that water couldn't drain down and it pooled. And when trees and leaves and twigs, notably the needled trees, fall into water, they don't rot the same way in water that they do on dry land. So this area becomes very acidic. It is the acidity that defines the muskeg and slows, prevents, delays, stunts the growth of the forest. Now to oversimplify but be concise, eventually a moss or peat takes over and you more or less have a floating ecosystem. But the water table, it's never far from the surface of the spongy ground. You should be extremely careful in muskegs. Even what appear to be shallow puddles can sink down hundreds of feet, depending on how the glaciers carve through. If you are bored during your travels home, which sound very far, look up stories of bulldozers and backhoes that go entirely missing. Because construction workers, they're brought up from the lower 48 to help us.
And they have no idea.
They don't realize the ground they're building on.
Okay.
If you are more grim, look up bog bodies.
Oh, I
Bog
love
is
bog bodies.
kind of a synonym for muskeg.
Do you watch Spooky Lake on TikTok? Spooky
No,
Lake Month?
but I
Okay,
should.
so
It
look
is
up-
October.
Look up Spooky Lake Month, and there's her name is Geo on TikTok, and every day in the month of October she does a different lake, and that's how I knew about bog bodies.
Bugs, they will preserve bodies in ways almost better than mummification.
Yes, they're like
You can
actual-
truly see the expression on people's faces. So if I ever died, this is not a sign I want to die. I do not. Throw me in the bog because I'll be really awesome later on. I'll tell you guys to lighten the mood because that's pretty grim. My dad didn't believe me when I told him about those small shallow puddles. And he tried to jump over one of them unsuccessfully. He sank to his chest. And being the crappy daughter that I am, I laughed at him a very long time.
Said, "I told you so."
Before I helped pull him out.
Oh, I thought she was leading us that way.
I will help pull all of you out much more quickly. But I will definitely laugh at you too. Gonna say I told you so. The better option is stay out of the muskeg and stay on the trail.
This sure beats my last hike. When it was 112 degrees. No, it was in Texas.
Oh, that's Texas.
The trees that you're starting to see here, they're very unique in our forest, and I want to see if you can infer why. Our forest otherwise will have spruce, hemlock, red cedar, yellow cedar, and shore pine. Of that list, these are the only trees that what? That have leaves. On the east coast, these look like birch trees. Midwest, maybe aspens. These are red alder trees. And they're not a shrub, but they're kind of acting like it in that they intertwine all their roots together to gain strength. For this reason, you'll never see just one, you'll see many. They make these tunnels around trails and roads because they're primary growth that comes back where land's been disrupted. If you walk further in the forest, then you won't typically see them unless there's been things like an avalanche, a rock slide, a mudslide, or logging. Knowing a few fun facts about these trees actually helps you infer a lot about what you see as you go through the inside passage. For starters, these grow below 3,000 feet, and they live to be about 60 years old before they die of something called heart rot, and then they fuel secondary growth. This means if you're going through the inside passage and you see what look like big green fields at the tops of the mountains or down by the coast, you should know we really don't have those. What you're generally seeing are the light green leaves from these trees, contrasting with the dark green needle trees after an area's maybe been clear cut. If you see shoots or slides that don't yet have these trees, you know it's a more recent avalanche, rock slide, mudslide, landslide, all things that quite literally impact us in our community. Regarding these trees otherwise, this would be the favorite wood chip for smoking salmon. So if they're harvested prior to that 60-year mark, that's probably what they're being harvested for. When you go through the inside passage and you do notice these trees, it should tell you that most of the mountains around here are no more than 3,300 feet tall. That doesn't sound like much, but consider you're hiking up them from sea level. So you still get quite a bit of elevation gain. Did you hear about the landslide we had?
Right, the guy in the van was telling us
We
about
had
it.
a few. The end of August, there was a landslide that happened in town. That's what made it so notable. My friends were personally affected by this landslide. Did anybody see the news? There's a couple who lost their entire home. They were hospitalized. They thought they lost their dogs. They were buried for a week, but thankfully their dogs survived too. One of the things about the landslide and all the houses that were destroyed in it is that the insurance companies opted not to cover any of the property.
Oh, that doesn't
Not at all.
surprise me.
And even though they're appealing it, the people who have their homes affected can't access emergency federal funds while that appeal is happening. So they're just kind of screwed right now. There was a second landslide that's worth mentioning because it happened in the road just a few days ago. I'm using the word trapped to mean buried, obviously. But I was trapped by that landslide. See, because when I'm not working, I'm still hiking. And I'm getting far away from people because I love you all, but I see people all the time. So I cut way to the back of the island. And I was going to camp, but my sleeping bag was wet because I thought I'd be really awesome and wash it. When I opted to try to drive out, I was trapped by that landslide because it came down just in the few hours I was hiking. Big landslide. We got trapped overnight by it. So these are things that really happen in Southeast Alaska, and I'll tell you a bit more about why soon. I got pictures of it. I wish I was a cool drone photographer. This is not my picture, but this is the landslide that had me trapped. I was on the far side of that road. Something you learn very quickly living in Alaska if you're adventurous. Oh, wow. Is shit happens.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared. My vehicle always has a 0-degree sleeping bag. My vehicle always has a chainsaw. I don't know how to work it, but I'm gonna figure it out if I have to. But you keep basic supplies in your car because things happen out of cell phone signal all the time here. You may be in one of the largest cities. In fact, Ketchikan's at the top of the list for largest cities. But middle of nowhere is very close by. Very close by. Good rain gear. To include a plastic bag. That'll save you too. Alright. Cedar trees, guys. Cedar trees have bark that is dry and dull. It's like a cat used a scratching post. Red cedar is a purple-red color. Yellow cedar more of a white-gray. But in either scenario, when you see cedar trees missing strips of bark like this little one at my 12 o'clock, people did do that. Now Alaska's got a native population, and here in Ketchikan, the main tribes would be Tlingit, Haida, and Tsimshian. And natives, like anybody, work to preserve their culture, in part through artwork. What you're seeing is a spot where native artists come and they put the bark to the ground level as high up as they can. As long as they don't take more than a certain percentage of the tree's bark, and as long as they harvest after the risk of freezing is over in a year. That tree will be just fine, even though it'll keep that scar. But the natives, they like this bark because when it's processed and wet, it's very malleable and you can weave it. And when that weaving dries, it expands slightly, locking it into place, making it waterproof. For this reason, it's used to make things like baskets and purses and rain hats. The etiquette of harvesting involves walking as far into the forest and away from trails and roads as one is physically able. If you assume those strong cultural norms are followed then, and you see a tree harvested so close and frankly so perfectly, typically what you're seeing is a spot where maybe an elder in the tribe has come. Trees closer to the trails and roads are reserved for them. They track native populations in part by looking at the scarring on these trees. Different tribes harvest different ways. There's a shop in town called Crazy Wolf. That's a real native shop. They do have woven items if you're interested in them. Alright, why does Alaska have landslides? Well, we're all mountains and valleys, guys. Mountains and valleys. And Ketchikan in particular is one of the top, 3 rainiest towns in the whole United States. We get 170 to 220 inches of rain each year. And when you think about those variables, that's a risk in itself. But this helps explain further. We endearingly call this our hobbit hole. But our hobbit hole helps me illustrate the rest. Everything you see in our forest is growing on 6 inches to 2 feet of soil. That's it.
That's insane.
Practically, that means all of our trees are growing their roots wide because they can't grow up and down. And we get a ton of wind. Often hurricane force winds, but locals, we don't talk about it that way because it's just our normal life. But that wind blows over our poorly anchored trees. And when they blow over, we deem them nursery trees because they nurse new life. New trees, even of different types, they grow from the top of the old root systems that now can grow roots up and down like nature prefers. Those all intertwine with one another in the old tree to gain strength until eventually moss takes over and form these hobbit holes or caves that become the habitat for our wildlife. Our island doesn't have any rock caves, so this would be the bears, the wolves, the deer, the mink, the marten, and the squirrels' homes. Now, when you're lost in the forest then, it's very important when you approach down trees to use caution. Not only is it the exact spot that wildlife would be hiding, it's where they're most likely to act defensively. But consider, guys, when we partner all this information together, if you've got mountains and valleys that are very steep and 6 to 18 inches of soil that the roots are all taken up. Our island, we're used to being rainy, but we're used to getting our rain constantly and all the time. It's just always like this. So for that first landslide, what happened was we had a few weeks of really dry weather. And then 9 inches of rain came down in 30 hours on that mountaintop. And what happens is it gets between that rock and that soil layer, right? It picks it up, and one tree comes down, and they're all intertwined. They all come down. It floods it. So you know how the insurance companies are getting away with not covering it?
You don't have flood insurance.
You don't have flood insurance. Well, why the heck would you have flood insurance on a mountain? Right? That's what they're saying. It's a flood. But that's what happens. It fills up with water, it pulls it all down. There's more to it, but you get the point. This is a yellow cedar tree. Yellow cedar trees can live to be 800 to 1,000 years old. And when they die, this one is super dead. They have natural antifungal properties that make them incredibly rot resistant. So rot resistant that these trees can stand dead another 100 years. Because yellow cedar is increasingly rare, because it's so durable, it's very valuable, it's very expensive. Buying something of yellow cedar without taking great care of it is actually kind of buying it for life. I'll contrast that with red later on. In the meanwhile, we're going to hike undisturbed a little while, and you're going to start to hear the sounds of Ward Creek. That's the name of the trail, Ward Creek Trail. I do want to caution you that the way the glaciers carve through here, we're on a cliff that's about to get increasingly steep. Please know that I will walk us safely down to the water multiple times. So don't fall off the cliff to see the baby bits of water you'll see from here. Not worth it. I also give this warning because people have tried.
Let's see it. Stay to the right, Matt. Don't look at the arm. Watch on the video in the safety of our living room. Yeah. In 4K. Of course, maybe Blair Witch style movement.
I don't know about the editor you're using, but I think eventually has like a stabilizer option.
That's what I've tried many of them on this. That's what the other one I want. Has built-in stream stabilization.
Don't you have a gimbal? You have one in our closet in the office.
Is it in your closet? Because it was not in mine.
It's in the office, yeah.
But I think it's only for a phone.
You can try. I would see if I could really film it actually.
It is a DJI gimbal.
It doesn't fit, I can see about designing it like that too. So I would save you what, a couple hundred or whatever on your one car. You can get to pick your colors.
I like the scent of these trees and plants.
nice of all the places I've lived a lot of places. So this is home. Alright, talk to you about the skunk cabbage nibbles being proof that the bears sort of ate it while wandering through after hibernation. This is also a sign of bear activity, but more a sign you're on a bear's home turf. It takes a lot more time and energy for the bears to scratch away at this Sitka spruce tree to get to the sap that's inside. What happens with sap is how this tree gets all its sugar, right? And it's pretty pressurized to get to the top. So when the bear causes this damage, it causes the sap to just ooze out. This can be harvested for medicinal purposes. It's used topically to treat things like cuts or irritations on your skin. I've been harvesting it lately this time of year to make things like candles. Makes a beautiful sap wax that burns very slowly. But I do have a theory about why we're on a bear's home turf. Up until now, we've been on a cliff. But going forward, we've got a much more gradual walk to the water. What that means is that the bears can more easily navigate between the water that has trout and salmon and the trail that has skunk cabbage fed by all the water runoff. It likes that moisture, the small sap trees, and up until a few weeks ago, what were all berry bushes, fertilized by, frankly, dogs and slugs, to eat. For us, this means that as we hike, our chances of seeing the bear are increasing. And when you look around for the bears, please do not forget to look up in the trees. Bears, especially cubs, frequently hide in trees, nap in trees, scratch their back in trees. And the Sitka spruce is a favorite one that they climb. As we make this S-turn, you're going to see a larger Sitka spruce tree to your right. And if you pay attention, you'll see the scratching from where a bear has routinely clawed up the tree. Pay attention to that lower scratching. You'll see claw mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coming down. The top one looks more like a hind foot. But one of the ways you can tell bear prints, for example, from dog prints in the mud, bears have 5 toes. Dogs have the 4. So if you're looking around and you think you see prints, more likely than not you're seeing dogs, but count, because if you see that 5th, that would be the only animal that would cause that 5th on the island. More to be a hind foot. Hind foot of a bear looks kind of similar to our feet. It's not going to be the same as the paws on the front, but you'll notice there. Oh wow. Pay attention to how this coincidentally looks like a boat. And it's pretty sun-bleached. Despite that, you can see how red the inner wood is, at least under the alder leaves that have fallen. This is red cedar. Red cedar rots from the inside out. And because of this, it was used to make things like native canoes. You get a big one, cut it hot dog style, rots from the inside out. Life basically made a canoe for you, right? And there are cedar boats in town. Many of them are for sale. Because like our houses on those cliffs, they're horrible investments now. There's no insurance company that at this point in their life will protect your property. Red cedar is more commonly used because of its beautiful color and the ease with which you can work with it to make things like porches and fences and siding. But like many things that are beautiful, red cedar's a little more high maintenance. And if you don't treat or take care of that inner wood, at least it'll crumble away to a mulch. Locally, red cedar is used alongside its yellow cedar counterpart to make things like totem poles or tribal houses. Ketchikan's got the largest collection of totem poles in the country.
Good. Remember that cedar trees have those natural antifungal properties? Growing on the more shaded side of dead spruce and hemlock trees in our forest, then, is this tree rotting fungus called bear bread. Unlike its name suggests, though, bears don't really eat this. The nickname for it is artist punk, and that's more fitting. Artists will carve or etch or paint into that white underbelly, and it'll reveal the brown underneath in a permanent way. Do you see what I'm looking at, everybody? They're like the shelves coming out of the tree, the one that's dead. Yeah. These are little, because near the trail they're frankly easily harvested. But they get a layer for every year of life, like a tree does. So if you see them, not only do you know it's the more shaded side of it dead spruce or hemlock, but counting those layers tells you at least how long the tree's been dead, which gives you an idea, for example, of when it might fall. That's really helpful to know, because as you walk around, it's pretty overwhelming with something like this, especially with a hat or a hood on. You often can't tell instinctively if a tree is dead. For example, the one on the corner with the moss. It looks okay from our eyesight level, right? But you see the bear bread, it prompts you to look up, you know that tree is dead and maybe it falls sooner rather than later. Oh wow.
The same way that trees can bond to the forest, can bond to the butter. One of the biggest When the trees go in the water upstream from here, they can't make the horses bend. And that jams them up to the side. That creates this stagnant body of water that helps me teach you about our salmon. Alaska has 5 types of salmon. They've all got more complicated names. I use the easy ones. Some like your thumb. Sockeye, that can poke your eye out. Here in America, respectively. Pink. Silver like your ring, pink like your ring. All of our salmon are born, spawn, and die in freshwater one time. I point out that one time because obviously you can be born and die once, spawn and die. And they spend the rest of their life out at sea. And for the salmon that are born, spawn, and die here in Ward Creek, their journey to spawn begins in Ward Cove, where your boat is. They then come up Ward Creek, which parallels the Willow Road, where they took to get here, named after Juneau Island. They go through Ward Lake, which is after we'll turn around. Keep coming up Ward Creek some more, parallel full hike, trying to get to a finish line that's about the parking lot. And during that long, exhausting journey upstream, the salmon, their bodies are deteriorating as they re-enter the freshwater. They're not thinking about eating, they're just going to spawn and die. It's in that condition then that they come to these waterfalls or rapids, which they need to swim or jump up to make it to reproduce, or all or nothing. A big problem. Bears, loves, eagles, they all wait for them in places just like this. It's not much easier to catch than a fish out of water. Except a fish out of water that's also exhausted, deteriorating, got its mind over it. So stagnant bodies of water to the side, or even in the stream itself, give the fish the tiniest reprieve. They're making routes to maybe reflexively from these turtles. It increases the chances ever so slightly they'll make it to the finish line to reproduce. I am going to walk us to a waterfall closer to that saltwater threshold. And even though it won't be very big by our standards, it represents the most a salmon can really handle in their condition when they get there. For that reason, a bunch get clogged up in this spot, don't really make it past it, in part because of mama bear in her summer home. Not only is this a great place for her to feed her family, it's a great place for her to teach her cubs how to hunt. So our chances of seeing that bear, they keep coming up. I was helping the show yesterday. There are still salmon in this creek. Keep your eyes peeled.
Keep your eyes peeled.
We're temporarily crossing out of the technical boundaries of the Tongass National Forest onto more normal city-state property limits to get to that waterfall. If I didn't tell you that, frankly, you wouldn't know because people draw property lines, not the forest. But I pointed out because you're going to notice that the state thought it was really fun and educational to label the trees.
You're welcome to take pictures of these and read them at your convenience later on. I'm just going to use this one for what it's worth because I want to have the chance to show you how to identify every tree in our forest for yourself. That bigger tree in the back with the blue sign, that is the Sitka spruce. Its bark is a purple, red, brown color. It looks like potato chips or dragon scales going up the side. On big, healthy trees, it looks more like hearts. You probably can't see the branches on older trees because this is the tallest conifer type in our forest, third tallest in the world. I believe they get up to about 230 feet high. But when you can see the branches, they're the ones that have the medium length sharp to touch needles that are around all ends of the stick. They're spruced up. Near this tree is the western hemlock. Its bark is a patchy white, brown, gray color, and on young trees that can look like the alders. It's a bacon strip as opposed to a cat scratching like the cedar. And you mostly can see the needles. They're small and frazzled, more like they belong on a bush. But I don't like either the bark or branches as identifiers because as I've kind of explained, it gets confusing. And comparing helps. You almost always can see cedar branches. They are pressed, flattened, oily, pretty. Not mistakable for anything but each other. Red for yellow, yellow for red. Finally, I'm going to point out it looks like these two different trees are growing from one. This is a very common illusion in our forest because of that nursery regrowth pattern. Remember, new trees, even of different types, grow from the top of the old root systems. They all intertwine their roots together to gain strength. Those roots really stop growing when they butt into one another. And here moss is just hiding the seam. I point that out last because if we have time at the end of the hike, we'll go down one of those side trails and I'll show you a massive example of exactly that.
Hey, shrooms. What was our train driver's name? Derek? Huh? Drake. He said we could eat the mushrooms in Alaska. Of course, this is also the place I'd choose to go in a Last of Us scenario. Get out your binocs.
Come where I am and look between the live trees and on the dead branch in the horizon. If you can't see it, just kind of bump. There's an eagle on the tree, guys. So look through the live trees across the water. It's sitting on the branch of the dead one. It's super quiet and chilling. Make it another video. That's probably the best view, guys. Little bonfire branches. Y'all see it?
Yeah, not really from this view. I can't believe Matt didn't take a picture. Hopefully I got it on the video.
You can zoom in, post edit,
take note. It was at the around the 49 something minute mark. Just remember, bald eagle 49 minute mark.
Snap by it and it'll create a spike in the audio.
We're
when you find
gonna
it that
share
way.
the trail with the other group. I'm just gonna have us stay to the right while we pass them.
Okay.
I'm gonna give us a chance to kind of bunch up a bit. That way we don't just sit somewhere.
That's actually, I think producers do that. They'll snap by the microphone and make a spike in the audio so you can find the spot you want to see.
Oh.
When you round out this corner, you just cross the screen. And you just chill. Awesome, we'll go in a minute. Awesome, thank you. We'll go check that out in a second. When you look out at areas like this, you should always assume that they're muskegs. But if you're not sure, this is the tree that gives it away. This is a shore pine, S-H-O-R-E. And if you see a shore pine, you can be sure that it's a muskeg, because this is the only tree type that likes the acidic muskeg environment. They've got branches that grow distinctly upwards and long, soft-to-touch needles. Because of this, the nickname is bull pine. When you look out at the muskeg, guys, keep your eyes peeled for our Sitka black-tailed deer. These are smaller than reindeer and mule deer and even white-tailed deer. A big size one is frankly about the size of a big Great Dane. And they blend in well with the orange coloring of the grass this time of year as we enter fall. So keep your eyes peeled. They're often in here grazing, but they're very quiet, usually pretty camouflaged. Hunters like muskegs for obvious reasons. They can put tree stands up at the forest edge that gives them a physical camouflage. Then they'll wipe themselves with the cedar branches to mask their scent. From there they can look out at the muskeg and actually see stuff. Unlike looking in the forest. But they sit up on those tree stands and they get an aerial view of the game trails or animal paths that form, since animals like people take familiar routes to navigate safely. They don't have crappy daughters to pull them out if they get stuck. And if the hunter is successful, they can walk the game trail with reason to believe if that's a safe way for the animal, it's a safe way for me. But if you're lost, that would be a pick your poison battle. Walking the game trail might lead you to the predators that, depending on your circumstances, you want to find or you want to avoid. But walking without a path can cause you to sink in when nobody can pull you out. I'll be honest, most of the time you will not sink in hundreds of feet, but that is a very real risk you should appreciate. And almost always those not so small shallow puddles will at least look like puddles. No matter where you walk in the muskeg though, your feet are gonna get soaking wet. And you're gonna get bit by the mosquitoes that hang out over that glorified stagnant water. So it remains a good idea for people to overwhelmingly stay away.
Alaska's the last place I thought there'd be mosquitoes.
They're everywhere. Never escape.
There's only so many animals on the island. Let's use our brain and figure this one out. We just talked about all the reasons people don't routinely walk in the muskeg to cause this path. We got the gray wolf. I told you they avoid populated areas and people, although I have to say the only wolf I've seen outside of trapping on this island was on this trail. And this used to be a spot where wolves were trapped. We talked about the Sitka black-tailed deer. I told you a big one's about the size of a big Great Dane. They're not heavy enough to cause this. We've got mountain goats. Where do you think they are?
In the mountains.
In the mountains! The only animal heavy enough to cause this path is our black bear. And I'll tell you, I hike this trail up to 5 times a day every day. I know, this is that mother bear's routine path from last year as she made her way to the water. And as you can see, it's pressed down again. She's been using it this year too. But if you walk forward, you see Y off number 1, and kind of arm off number 2. This was from her cubs last year. But you'll notice they're not worn in again. That's because mama bears, they have between 1 and 3 cubs at a time. They keep for up to 2 winters and they breed to make more babies. Last year at the end of the season, her babies that would lose patience following her, they were pretty autonomous. And I don't see this mama bear with 2 cubs anymore. I see her with 1. I don't know if this is because one bear died over the winter. I think based on the bear's skill level fishing, pretty new, that she has just 1 new cub. We are approaching the mama's summer feeding ground. So what I want to do is I want to approach quietly because in my experience, we don't want to startle the bear if it's already out. If it's not out, I'll tell you where to look and why, because when the bear's come in toward us on its own terms, it doesn't really care if I'm talking, at least from what I noticed. So we'll approach quietly, we'll see what's out there.
Oh man.
Okay, thanks.
Before we get too comfortable, I just wanted to tell you about this spot so that you know where to look. From my experience, I know the mother bear's summer home is somewhere up on this hillside. Have I crossed the water to find it? No, because that verges on the stupidity we talked about earlier. But almost every morning, that mama bear, she comes down this cave trail that looks like 2 feet to the water. And someplace she's been working in still body in the water. Now, when bears have a lot of food, they're picky, they're eating fatty stuff in the water. fishes. But as they get a little bigger, she leaves them playing on those downed logs while she goes into the waterfall. At this phase, Mama Bear is a little low energy and emaciated. Her hunting skills are a little rusty. She's really hoping for the handful of trout or front-running salmon to feed herself. But when she does get her food, she's pretty selfless about it. She gives it to the cubs. Do you think they appreciate all the effort it took her? No. You can literally watch the cubs let them get away. There's a pair of mated eagles. We saw one of the two that live on the shore. I'm not exaggerating. Watching the mother bear get visibly frustrated. But eventually, the baby bears, they get hungry and learn to hold on to their food. And about this phase, Mama Bear brings them out to the waterfall. That's where we're at now. But when that happens, the baby bears, they're more like toddlers. All they really do is play in the water and get distracted and get in Mama Bear's way. So she kind of stops giving them charity because she got to encourage them to work for it. But as the season progresses, hundreds of salmon are trying to swim or jump up this. There's a few still there now. You'll usually see them when they get thrown back. And the Mama Bear and her cubs can all catch fish within about 10 or 30 seconds of trying. And when they get the fish, if you think you see them, you do. They'll go up the game trails along the mountain by the waterfall to get away from those annoying eagles and honeybees. They'll come back down to fish all day long. So because I'm seeing that fish, should they keep eating it?
Walking down those rooted steps. Did you really in the picture? Down there? I don't know if I'm looking at the right thing. They're like right there.